Water is life, as they say, a basic necessity which everybody depends on, irrespective of status. The song of the Afrobeat legend Fela Kuti resonates. Water e no get enemy, and this reflects the fact that there is basically nothing that can be done without water. Sadly, many still cry over a lack of access to potable water, and even where it is available, the water is not clean enough for use. Now, marking the World Water Week this year with the theme Water for Society, including all, leaders and experts from the world's scientific, business, government, and civic communities convened in Stockholm, Sweden to exchange views, experiences, and shape joint solutions to the global water challenges. Bearing in mind that Nigeria has its own challenges, what effect would this have on the common man on the street who is seeking clean and potable water? This is one of the questions begging for answers. On this note, I welcome you to the program Nigeria Today. I am Dennis Adigunloye. All right, joining me in the studio to discuss the topic, impact and challenges of water supply in Nigeria is engineer Kashim Abdul Ali. He is the chairman, FCT Water Board. You're very welcome to Nigeria Today, sir.
Thank you, Dennis.
All right. And also joining us is Ayo Ogunlade, policy manager, Water Aid Nigeria. Welcome also to the program.
Thank you. It's an honor being here.
All right. Nice having you both. Yeah. All right. Let me come to you first, engineer. It may seem a bit ironic with all the rains we've had in the recent weeks. Do we have enough water in the country?
Yeah,
usable water.
Yeah, we have a lot of. This year, let me just say this: we have had the highest rainfall in decades in Abuja, especially.
Yeah. And
one of the yardstick for measurement is that our dam, the Lower Osuma Dam, has never spilled water since it was commissioned in 1985. But this year we are still spilling water. So that is the indicator. Yeah, so we've always had enough water occurring in its natural form all over the country, because the truth about the earth is covered by water largely. 73% of the earth surface is covered by water. So we always had naturally occurring water. But what water is available for human use, that is the challenge.
Yeah.
The challenge is profound in our country, unfortunately. And the Water Week actually is to create awareness for this, to draw attention of government, especially because in our society, government is the biggest investor in infrastructure. Yep. And until recently, when we started deploying PPP approaches, and we've not even had the involvement of any other group except the government. So it's to draw attention of government largely, and also to draw the populace attention also to the fact that given the way, the cost of doing water infrastructure, we should begin also to psych ourselves up to see water as a socio-economic commodity, not just a social commodity, which we have always had in mind. So that when we use it, those who have access should appreciate that it is a privilege that they do have, and they should not take it for granted, not abuse the usage. And those who, and when they even use also, should also pay their bills so that at least the supplier can continue to supply. But largely, the onus is on the government to invest more in water infrastructure.
Okay, Ayo, we have water everywhere. Why is it that it is not easily transmitted into consumable and usable water for Nigerians?
Yeah, thank you very much. As the engineer said, water is everywhere, you understand. It's really about water everywhere and not enough to drink. So there's a standard that is used globally to talk about water access. It's the SDG standard.
Yeah.
So normally every household in Nigeria, or in fact globally, the aim is for every household around the world to have what is called basic access to water. Now, basic access implies that you have water within at most 30 minutes from your house, you understand, from where you reside. That is including the time to queue, you understand. And then the water you're accessing is improved water in the sense that it is clean, potable water. Now, that is the standard that Nigeria is working towards. And the fact is, currently in Nigeria, we have a situation where only 68% of Nigerians have access to this basic water supply.
68%?
68% of us, according to the National Bureau of Statistics. So 68% of us have that. And the fact is that the others who don't have it, that's the 32%, it's a very, very dangerous world that we're opening or exposing them to. In the sense that water comes with a lot of diseases, illnesses, and all that. And they are very communicable, they are transmittable. So essentially, we're actually putting our own faith, you understand, in a position where we're leaving ourselves compromised to all of these diseases. So we have things like neglected tropical diseases, we have cholera, we have diarrhea, all of this really common water related diseases. But talking about the challenges in translating physical access to water to consumable water, the challenges are numerous. It starts from a place of, number one, as the engineer said, how do we view water fundamentally? We view water as a social good, something we don't need to pay for. So you talk to an average Nigerian, maybe a Nigerian, maybe around the 40, 50 years old, or even 30 years. They tell you, oh, growing up, we had water in our house, we just turned on the tap and then water used to flow. But for many of us, we don't couple that memory with the memory of paying for water. So you have a situation where low tariffs for water, people are not paying for water, you understand? And even the collection for the payment is really low. And then that situation leads to where, oh, you have a woof, essentially. You just turn in the tap, free water. You understand? And then when you use free water, there's a cost to that water. There's a cost to produce it, to making that water clean.
Available.
But once you are not paying for that cost, you're not recovering your cost. You make a loss. And then you depend on government, public financing, to pay for that cost. And government only has so much resources
it's not
to pay
always
for
forthcoming.
that. Yes, exactly. And so all of this investment, lack of investment, it leads to a kind of vicious circle in which at the end of the day, the facilities collapse. There's no money to maintain these things. Pipes burst, no money to do that. All of these things happen. And then you have a situation where cities, especially, they are urbanizing. They are growing bigger. But the pipelines are not being extended to the new areas, to the new settlements. Do you understand? So much stress on the water infrastructure. And at the end of the day, it collapses. And then at the end of the day, you don't have water running down your pipes. So all of these inefficiencies, all of these challenges, these blockages, you understand? And that is just a very small what do you call it, perspective about it. So challenges to water can also be like geographical, in the sense that people living in rural areas, they have lower access relative to people living in urban areas and all of that. So yes.
That's what I wanted to bring Engineer Kashim on. There's 32% that don't have access to this basic water access. Are they predominantly in the rural areas, or is that me being a bit presumptuous?
No, they are mainly in the rural areas. Because like I said earlier, the essence of this water week is to draw attention of government to recognize that, and you can see the theme for society and for all. For sure. So the idea is the urban areas, some of the urban areas do have, because in the urban areas, the unfortunate thing is that we don't quite appreciate the significance of water supply. Public water supply system, because everybody thinks in terms of if I do a big house and I have a borehole, I'm done. Others can go to hell, or my neighbors can come around and fetch from my own supply. But you need to have for everybody, and that is why I talked about infrastructure, having the infrastructure to serve every places. And the standard of supply varies from the standard of living also, because you recall that in the rural areas, really rural areas, the demand for water is not extremely high. For instance, if they are predominantly farmers, they need water in the morning, maybe some of them may not even need water to bath, they just need food to make some food before they go to the farm, and they come back in the evening, they need water to just bath. So you find out that in terms of usage, even 50 liters a day per capita is enough for a rural setting. Okay. As you grow to a higher level of urban, semi-urban area, you could now get it to 100. And then in most of our cities, except Abuja, you could do it 120, 150. But Abuja standard is world standard. Actually, it's not in comparison with any other place in Nigeria. It's supposed to compare favorably with what you have in developed countries, like what you have in New York, in Paris, in London. This is what you should have in Abuja. And that is why, indeed, the densification of the network is high in Abuja. Okay. Anywhere there's development, anywhere there's infrastructure, there must be water supply. So that is likely solved. But in the states, priority is not given to water. Sometimes you see states, I watch with a lot of anger when I see a state governor going to commission a borehole. Sometimes the borehole may have cost just about $1 million. And the community bring out dancers, they bring entertainment. If you quantify the cost of all those things, it's even more than the cost of the borehole itself. And then it's such a shame that could be something that some state governors. So they focus really. Those people dwell mainly in the states and the rural areas in the states, and we need to really awaken their consciousness to recognize that water is life. 75% of our body is water. You don't have water for 40 days, you are dead. You may not have food for 100 days, you will still live. So they should recognize that. And if you have water, the disease burden will go down drastically. Like you talked about, most of the sicknesses that afflict particularly rural dwellers they are waterborne. Waterborne disease. They are waterborne. Yeah. And then even the malaria attack that have also result from misuse of water. But when you allow water to pond unnecessarily, then again mosquitoes breed and then they attack people, and then as you leave the water body there, they treat the mosquitoes and the cycle continues.
All right. So, Ayo, in line with this year's theme of Water for Society, including all, how do we then create a situation where everybody is included, especially those in the rural areas?
Yes. So when we talk about including all, rural areas, they are disproportionately affected by water scarcity. But it's not just people living in rural areas. Part of the report released by the National Bureau of Statistics last year, that's the WASH norms, that's Water, Sanitation and Hygiene Survey. There are also inequalities when it comes to wealth. So you find a situation where the people in the richest quintile, the wealthiest quintile, that's the wealthiest 20% of Nigerians, they have two times the amount of water that people in the poorest quintile do. And all of that exists. You have inequality based on geographical area. So for example, you have a situation where the southwest, access to basic supply is really around 80-something, and then in the north, you have 50-something%. So all of these things are there. So including all means everybody, everywhere included. And doing that requires, number one, it starts from the place of having a plan. You understand? Having a plan to include everyone. And the president last year, he launched the National Action Plan for the revitalization of the water, sanitation and hygiene sector. And that plan is the first step. And that plan is already, he has launched the plan, you understand. He has declared a state of emergency in the water sector as well. And moving on from there, this World Water Week, the minister and also some other leaders within the water sector, they are in Stockholm meeting the international audience on how they can invest in water supply. And this is why it's really important for us to have these conversations. The first thing is the fact that the resources of government is limited. We need to look at other ways of financing water supply. Now, one way to go about it is maybe corporatization or commercialization, the PPP that the engineer mentioned, you understand? Or even beyond that, it's also about the technology. Different places have like groundwater sources, like the depth of groundwater sources, all of those things. It's having that technology, having the know-how, having the capacity, having the skill set to do all of this. And so the National Action Plan is supposed to be a way to address all of these gaps, and hopefully If that plan is properly implemented, it will be a first step towards ensuring that everyone everywhere in Nigeria has access to water as and when they do. Because currently in Nigeria, for every day, there's only 4 liters of water accessible to each person. You understand? That's our what do you call it, water access per capita, and we can improve that by implementing a plan that is well thought through, that brings together both public solutions and private solutions and different technologies. Yeah.
Looks like I need a glass of water as well.
You
Okay.
do.
The program is Nigeria Today. Topic is impact and challenges of water supply. We'll take a break now and I'll go and get a glass of water. Let's hear from Nigerians in this Vox Pop what they think of this topic, put together by Lolade Alayaki. We'll be right back.
I think there should be a coherent and all-inclusive and well-coordinated water policy that will take cognizance of the rural areas as well as the cities, because water is essential to life. And most of the illnesses and sicknesses and diseases that plague our homes, they come as a result of lack of potable water.
Actually, most of us don't have access to good water in this country. So actually what I will advise, or what I will say on what the government need to do on water, is to provide good water channels that will enable the poor masses benefit for him.
Okay, I think the government should make sure there are pipe-borne waters. I won't advise the era of getting borehole, because indiscriminate drilling of borehole can cause an earthquake. If there are borehole everywhere, I think it's not good enough for the citizen, and most of those boreholes we take are not good enough for drinking.
Very, very important. If government, through their yearly budget, they can at least budget a large sum of money, you understand, that will give us a clean water in the whole nation, not only in the cities but also in the rural area, because they are Nigerians. They also have the right to get a clean water.
All right, welcome back. This is Nigeria Today, and we're discussing the impact and challenges of water supply in Nigeria. And still with me in the studio is Engineer Kashim Abdul Ali, the Chairman, FCT Water Board, and Ayo Ogunlade, Policy Manager, WaterAid Nigeria. Engineer Kashim, you heard some of the comments from some members of the public there. They will touch on some of the things we've already discussed on. Just give us your assessment of their understanding of the significance and the importance of water to human existence.
The truth about our situation is that the federal government seems to recognize the significance of water. You know, if you notice, I've been happening on state government. Water actually is on the concurrent legislative list.
Yeah.
So it should be largely done by state government. But federal government has gone a step further to give a lot of profound support to state government. I'll give you an example, maybe just two. In Kogi State, there is a dam in the Kogi West that has enough empowerment to supply water to every nook and cranny of that area, of the whole of that zone. But the dam has been lying there with water in it, and the government has not considered it necessary to have a treatment plant and distribute the water for people to use. There's a worst case in Ondo State, where there's also a dam. Federal government went a step further to also build a treatment plant. All the state government needs to do also is just to do the trunks and provide for treatment processes, do the trunk and link it to its distribution system, and they could have water. But this has been there for more than 10 years. So, and there are quite a number of areas all over the country where federal government has made effort to do this. Now, if the state governments recognize the necessity to make the water available to their citizens, they would have taken this up and would have had water. In fact, in places where we even had water previously, again, the lack of, and of course, the people always see whatever state governments do behave as if the people owe them. So anytime they do any little thing, the people come around and prostrate and give them, so that's giving them that impetus to continue to tread on their rights. And people don't seem to see that, because even I listen to this voice pop, many of them are just saying government. Nobody has specifically said, look, my state government, my local government should do this for me, because their assumption is that it is federal government, but the truth is it should be the state government that should take this on. They are the ones not doing. The one that is the result of the government, federal government, is the one of FCT. Any other one is for the state government. Unfortunately, only a few of them are doing. Yesterday, okay, see, when it is on your news of what happened in Zaria. Zaria Water Works. I went to do as a young student in 1976, around 77, 78. I went to do industrial attachment on that project.
Okay.
That has just been completed now. It's from the 70s. They've been able to just successfully complete it now. Wow. So, you mean, that is the kind of laxity on the part of the state government, the way they don't appreciate this. And they haven't even tried to have completed it. The other states have had water supply infrastructure in the 60s, and they allowed them to just decay. In fact, in my own hometown, we had the water works that was there when we were young, and we were fetching water. Of recent, in the last few years, I was told that somebody has come and dismantled the thing and taken them away. Where to, I don't even know. So that is the situation we really have. The challenge we have really is there has to be people taking responsibility, and it's very, very serious. People need to take responsibility. If you are in leadership is not about just being in office. It's about serving the people. And one way of serving people is to prepare for their welfare, which water is significantly well positioned.
All right, Ayo. I might touch a little bit of a nerve here, but many have condemned the water board for high charges placed on customers for the water they don't see. How true is this?
Well,
briefly, please.
I think that question would have been best directed at the engineer, but I'll take a stab at it.
All right.
So the thing is this: water is there's a process, a production process that comes to getting water safe for human consumption. And as I said earlier, there's a cost. You understand? Cleaning the water, the chlorination, all of that, it comes at a cost. Now, in terms of not seeing the water, now there's a place of having a conversation with the water board. And I'm sure water boards across the country, they have customer feedback mechanisms where they tend to listen to customers and taking inputs. But we must also see from the perspective that as we're talking about high charges and whatnot, we must also look at the fact that people are sabotaging water systems. You understand? Breaking it down and whatnot. And so we have a responsibility as people, not just to demand for water services, which is our right, but also to make sure that these water services keep running. And that whatever we're paying for, we're demanding for services to be delivered, you understand, to meet what we're paying for. You don't go to the market and give someone money and just expect them not to give you anything. You understand? So it's also about us demanding as citizens. So citizens have a role to play, you understand, in demanding for basic water, sanitation and hygiene. You understand? And we have a role to play in making sure that we're involved, we participate in ensuring that these systems keep running and that we're feeding back to the water board, you understand, or whatever water agencies are in place. And we also need to talk about the fact that okay, yes, let me just keep it brief and just maybe the engineer may have one or two things to add to that.
Unfortunately, time is against us, but we'd like to appreciate our guests, Engineer Kashim Abdul Ali, Chairman FCT Water Board, and Ayo Ogunlade, Policy Manager, WaterAid Nigeria. Thank you both very much for your insights on this topic, the importance of water, which clearly I need to go and take with this cough of mine. Thank you both very much.
Yeah, thank you.
And to our viewers, thanks for watching. And remember, you can watch this edition or any other on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/NTA News 24 Hub. Another episode comes your way tomorrow. I am Dennis Adigmule. Bye for now.